Okay, I believe we're good to go. It is now 2:08, and we will start our briefing. We are going to begin our briefing with our quarterly reports for the school board advisory committees. After that is finished, then we will close or suspend the meeting and restart the workshop, and then we will come back. Ms. Swan?
Could I make a suggestion that before we put that particular part of what you just said in stone, that we determine whether we have people in the audience that want to make public comment? Because that would, if they came here for a 2 o'clock meeting to make a public comment, and I don't know that they did, but if we have public comment, I think we should as well respect their time. Can we
Board Attorney,
take
is
it? I mean, we arbitrarily decided to do this, and it would seem that if we are looking to make it convenient for our public, if in fact there are people here that are wanting to make public comment, I think we should also entertain those before we close this meeting.
If it may be best, rather than to take the this meeting in piecemeal, to do this portion completely and then come back to the workshop, because if we're going to just do something beyond like a time certain quarterly reports, it would be best to just complete this briefing meeting and then go back to the workshop. That would be my recommendation.
The one part of this meeting is 90 minutes. So we would be resuming the other meeting for everyone else who's sitting here for another hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah, with the reason being is that you have public comment at your briefing meeting, and public comment is allowed for the specific items on the briefing meeting. So if you are, I mean, I guess you can take, it's really up to the chair. If you want to take the public comment and recess, or the chair, or the will of the majority of the board. If you want to take the public comment, do the time certain quarterly reports, take the public comment, because it was noticed for 2 o'clock, so the public is, I mean, it's after 2, so they would have been here, and the notice would have been provided for this this meeting. If you want to, there's no legal prohibition against it. It was just, I was trying to avoid the leaping back and forth, but ultimately it's up to the chair or the will of the majority of the board.
Well, I'm going to put it out to all of you again, because we're here, because everybody decided to be here. So do we want to go through this whole agenda prior to going back, or?
My suggestion is no, to do what we've just decided, that we will listen to the advisory board reports and then suspend this meeting and go back.
Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and move on, because I know we do have people that need to be other
But
places.
that's just me, so, and I'm not
I'm not
the
hearing
chair,
from anybody
so.
else, so.
Well, you heard from me.
Thank you. Okay, if we can go ahead and begin with DAC. And when you please come up, would you please state your name? Thank you.
Good afternoon, board, and Dr. Pruitt, I think that is right over there, representing Dr. Atkins. My name is Scott Hertz. I am the chairperson of the District Advisory Council. I have submitted a written report to you. In the interest of time, I won't read you my written report. I'll just make 2 comments on the takeaways from the meetings that are now an area of focus for the superintendent and Dr. Spiro are addressing it, which is there does appear to be some real communication issues going on in the district that have been identified by some disconnects that we've seen in our meetings from between the message at the district and the messages at the schools, as well as the maintenance of the individual school pages. It is my understanding that Dr. Atkins and Dr. Spiro both put that on for the lead principal meetings in each of the 3 tiers, the high school, middle, and elementary schools, with the executive directors to address that as well. And we expect to hear more about that at our next meeting, and then an upcoming meeting where your new director of communications communications will be presenting to DAC. And this I see again, as I've told you, this is part of the focus in your renewed vigor in DAC, that we're seeking not to be a committee where we show up and just have information presented to us, but it's truly synergistic, and we provide information and feedback, hopefully, that is useful to the board. So that was one of the points that was raised about complaints about communication, individual school pages not being kept up, and so forth, that is now being addressed. Additionally, we had a wonderful meeting on the topic you were just sort of touching on with the social workers about the mandatory updates in the statutes to the mental health education, and how the district is addressing that, and again, how that's being communicated out to parents and how those issues are being handled. So that's all sort of tied together. There were some issues there perhaps in people receiving information from School Messenger and how that has been handled. So that's all part of the focus that is now being addressed. And then I will leave it to say that as a result, our next meeting is going to be on the Code of Student Conduct and Restorative Practices, which apparently is becoming a bigger issue for the district, and how that's being handled and how that's rolled out, so you can try to get some feedback from us. And due to recent events, we're going to get an update on the school district's planned responses to the coronavirus, or COVID-19, as well as what's going on with the possibility of having an extended day in the next school year. There seems to be a lot of questions about that. So I know Dr. Spiro is working with those folks to be sure they come with sort of clear questions that we can get out to the SACs and try to get you some feedback. So not only will you be getting feedback from your administrators and teachers, but you can get feedback from us as well about the impact that'll have. And I stand ready to answer any questions you may have.
Does anyone have any questions?
I just have one thing. On the restorative practices that you're going to go into at another meeting, a suggestion is, since DAC is made up of the SAC representatives, to have them come prepared to talk about their particular school and what they're doing as far as the restorative practices and what it looks like, and, you know, how it's working for them, to kind of enhance that conversation. Just a thought.
I'll work with Dr. Spiro, and we'll get a message out to our members requesting that they come prepared with that information.
Okay, are there any other questions? No, thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, and I do apologize. I have another engagement. I don't know if it was, I don't know about other folks, but I have to be in court, so I will be leaving directly instead of staying for the rest of the reports. Thank you.
Appreciate you, thank you. Scott. Construction and Advisory Committee, please.
Good afternoon, Board. Scott Rickenbacker, District Liaison. Unfortunately, Ryan could not be here. He's our chairman to give you the update. The past 4 meetings predominantly have been on 2 subject areas. The predominant subject area is the RFQ process and how to get more minority participation, and update the process itself, take some of the community concerns and questions, incorporate it, and we intend on the next CAC meeting hopefully to have procurement bring some of these formula changes and or suggestions, and have a date certain of the community meeting, scoring meeting to do that, so that our committee could bring to the board the actual recommendations from the CAC committee to further with you folks. The second part of that was the bridge over Sunrise. Much heated debate on that, but we all agreed it is safety related, and the district is committed to participating with the county, with the Lehigh Acres Community Group, as a support in the triangle of the 3 entities working towards that mean at some future point.
So it's going forward.
Excuse me, are there any
It's-
questions?
Sorry.
Does anyone have any questions?
No, thank you.
Yes,
Were you finished?
it is going forward. Planning staff will be working with those entities to attend meetings and see where that takes them. Any questions? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next, I am jumping to Finance and Advisory, because I know he was the first one here.
Thank you. Daryl Teblum, Chair of the Financial Advisory. In January, we had procurement in, and we also looked at project management, trying to look at ways to streamline the process. We had a lot of questions with new buildings and things going on, and tried to look for ways that maybe we could save some money and put some controls in place. Most of our work seemed to be done, though, during the February meeting. We had Dr. Adkins in, Dr. Pruitt was with us, where we discussed benefits. We did end up coming up with a motion by the end. We came to a consensus that we recommended that the district and Dr. Atkins speak with the union to find out what the employees actually really want. Most of the people in the committee, actually the entire committee, believe that they would want their children covered as well, and that would work as far as retention as well and with recruitment, and that could, in the long run, possibly save the district money. So other than that, that was really it with us. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Are there any questions? Ms. Patrica?
I don't have a question. I met with Talc and Spalk today, and Spalk has already sent out that survey to include the specific question the committee wanted answered. Talc has also sent out a survey, but it didn't include that specific question. So I just want you to know, it's there on the Spalk side, and I'll leave it to Dr. Atkins to work with the union to figure out what additional information they can get based on the committee's request.
That would be great. I actually received a little feedback on that from a few people that reached out to me I've never heard of before, and they said that they were very interested in finding out what happened, and I said, come to our next meeting, maybe we'll know more then. So,
Okay.
any other
Anyone else,
questions?
please? Thank you.
Thank you, have a great day.
Okay, CSI? Please.
Cindy.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cindy McClung. I'm the staff liaison for the CSI Advisory Committee. Our chairperson, Dr. Michelle Stork, did submit a written report to you. I'll just give you some brief updates. We've only met one time since our last report out. And at that time, I'm going to give Jeannie a little bit of a raise here, but Jeannie LaFountain met and talked to us about the pre-K initiative within the district. And you're all quite aware of our concern around students coming to the district not prepared for the skills that are required in kindergarten. So she talked about some of the things that are being done and then referred to the Big Five goal around the pre-K initiative of adding 200 pre-kindergarten seats per year through 2030. So she had that discussion. Mrs. Morgan gave a report out and suggested that the committee might be interested in hearing the report from the executive directors that was presented to the board in February around the achievement data. So we've put in a request for that, and we'll be talking about that at one of our future meetings. That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if we could have Equity and Diversity Advisory Committee?
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Dennis Quisenberry III. I represent the EDAC Committee. I'm the chairperson today. And we have a short list. One of the most important things we've done since our last briefing, we went out to South High School as a committee and toured the school. Just getting an in-depth look at some of the things they're doing at the school, some of the positive things that are happening. We got to see their AVID program and some of the AVID incentives that go along with that, a number of their career academies, and we spoke with some of the students that were there. Primarily their AVID class that was full of young ladies. It was their AVID leadership class that was all young ladies, and it was nice to see them in a very advantageous position. They were all very well-spoken and very knowledgeable about what they were doing and a great idea about what they wanted for their future. In addition to, we had some conversation in our last meeting about communication with parents, and some of the suggestions we came up with was maybe having some of our administrators attend some community meetings and make connections with some of our community leaders to help disseminate some of the information from our schools directly to the community and to the families in a different format than what we normally do. And also trying to get some of those community leaders to come in to the schools and come into some of our meetings so that there can be a bridge between the community and the schools as we move forward to try to find the best ways to communicate with our parents, making sure the right information is reaching the right people, saying it the right way. All right. Any questions for us?
Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you.
No, thank you. And you are the chair, not just today. You are the chair. And thank you for what you do. And Curriculum Advisory Committee.
It's a family thing.
Good afternoon. I'm Bethany Quisenberry, and I am the staff liaison for the Curriculum Advisory Committee. Unfortunately, Dr. Wilkerson was unable to join us today. The primary focus of our work in the last quarter has been on, first, world language textbook adoption, which I believe Candace Aliveto spoke to you about earlier today, and then also on our work towards our ELL students. Evelyn Rivera, the director for ELL, has been joining all of our meetings, and we have been talking about different ways that we can work to support all of the students that are in our buildings, as well as provide staff additional training and support to make sure that we meet those students' needs. One of the things that we just recently did in February was 3 of the principals for some of our high ELL population schools, Dunbar High School, Bonita Springs Elementary, and Tice Elementary, all came and gave presentations on how their schools individually support different ways, different innovative ways that they have in their buildings that they support their ELL students. Moving into our next meeting, we are ready to have a more in-depth discussion and come to a consensus to hopefully bring back to the board some recommendations for what the committee would like to see to help support those students. Any questions?
Great. Does anyone have, Ms. Patrica?
Have you given any thought to having the committee dissect the information that we're about to receive regarding scheduling, the extra half hour, block scheduling versus 7 hours a day? Has your committee thought about looking at that, making a recommendation to the board?
We did give them an update. You gave them an update in the last meeting? Oh, that's true. I was not at that meeting. Yes, they received an update, but we did not specifically discuss how that would impact or if there would be an impact for ELL students. Is that what you're referring to, or just in general?
Talking
Okay.
more in general.
Okay.
For them to sort of take a deep dive into that. I would think curriculum advisory would be the most appropriate place for that, yes.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Oh, I just wanted to comment, since I'm the liaison there. Yeah, we did have an update. Dr. Spiro did update the committee, and the reason that we haven't taken a deep dive into that is because we've taken a really deep dive into the ELL situation, and we're about to come up with, we're actually culminating it. So instead of stopping midstream, so to speak, with what we're doing with ESOL. We're going to finish that out, and unfortunately, or fortunately, maybe in the views of some people, we're going to run out of time. So perhaps if we had heard about this proposal earlier in the year, we could have divided our priorities in a different way, but it's obviously a relatively new situation. So we do want to finish. We've made a lot of good progress with the ELL, and we've really...
Our committee really requested that we choose a topic that had an impact on student learning and on the district through needs assessment, and that we really focus throughout the entire year on that issue until we come up with a board recommendation or problem solve through a way that we could at least assist. And so we've really tried to stick to that. ELL is what we decided on back in September, and we've really kept to that topic throughout the year.
Great.
Any other questions?
Anyone else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very good.
Okay. So that concludes the quarterly reports, and I do believe I am definitely going to opt to take the public comments, because I do want to be respectful for everyone's time here. So if we could do that.
It's up to the, yeah, I mean, it's,
Sorry, no?
as I was thinking about it, because the briefing public comment is limited to what is actually discussed and on the agenda at the board meeting.
Okay.
So as I was thinking about it while the presentations were going, I think it would be best to not do the public comment, because they wouldn't have heard the presentation yet, and so their public comment would not be, may not be as informed or as to what the presentation was.
Perfect. Okay, well, seeing that we are not doing that at this moment, I will suspend this meeting so that we can reopen the workshop with Ms. Fisher.
Need to take some more time for the control room to catch up.
Right.
Just a few minutes, and for the ladies as well, and I apologize for that.
Totally your fault.